Chapter 14 Girl with the Razor Hair. Sometimes we take the little things for granted. The small mail bag that was given to me came in handy that summer. It became the keeper of the secrets of Red River. If something happens to me, I thought, and they were to find the bag, then maybe they could put it all together. It's easier to see something after someone puts the work in. In that bag, one could find the notes from Simon Jack, a handwritten letter by me, the book of blots that was my grandfather, an odd set of keys, journals and maps from my uncle detailing soft spots in Red River. Everything a curious bystander would need for their journey into darkness once they cross the city limit sign. I have never seen a reason to change the population sign. Regardless of the number of people that move in, the same end up dead or disappearing. Back then, as you crossed the city limit sign, you saw things, the way the clouds moved or how the leaves turned toward you as you walked by. Maybe you're not the type of person that notices the little things telling you to turn around. There were signs, real signs, warning you about this place. The county line was known as the Bodiless Cemetery. Small wooden and metal crosses littered the banks, pink ribbons flapped in the wind. Old Polaroids lay here and there. Rumor had it that Old Man Tate had built a large magnetic device and somehow was using it to put cars into a tailspin. Here were the facts as I knew them. Old Man Tate always had on bib overalls, the denim kind. He needed something to cover his stomach, and I think that was all he could find to do the job. In the left pocket you could always see a pack of Winston cigarettes. Someone said he was in the TV repair business for a while, then he went crazy thinking the Japs had installed cameras in them. When someone told him he was crazy, he went on a mission to buy up all of the old TVs from here to 5 counties over. If you still go to what's left of his house, the ground is littered with TV parts and tubes from days long gone. When people started wrecking on Tate's Curve, they started asking questions, because Old Man Tate and his family got in the junk business. One night I got a message from Jack, something simple: go watch the sky turn blue. Jack. I went outside, heard the screech of tires coming from Tate's Curve. The sky lit up in a neon bright blue, almost electrical. The hairs on my arms begin to move back and forth. The feeling you get when it is about to be a bad storm. A large ray of purple light flashed over the old man's house and then it was gone. And so was Old Man Tate and his family. We never got the answers as to what happened. Of course, it didn't seem like anyone cared to ask them either. There's one thing I can be sure of, there hasn't been any more wrecks on Tate's Curve. I guess, dear reader, the reason why I am telling you these little stories about Red River. Because no one ever will, and maybe the time you spend with me here will help you see past the lies your town has put up to be the place it is today. In the end, it's not about me or you, it's about the history and the lies. It's really hard to paint a picture of a place without the canvas. I hope I have done a good job so far. I felt I couldn't have made it out of my childhood if it wasn't for Jack. He would give me hints and clues to the things that were happening around me. Even as a kid, life will chase you down, get in front of you and set up a world full of roadblocks. I think life had a little mercy on us, as we neither were sinners or saints, only small people on a road of questions to whom we may become. It seemed that each roadblock was a little darker, a hair more disturbing as we marched down that road. Coffee played a big role in that summer, and I never had a cup until that evening we returned from the carnival. You remember your first cup of that hot black stuff, if it was sweet or bitter, strong or weak. You remember asking yourself, why haven't interacted with this black bounty before? This stuff was a gateway drug you could always fall back on, after the nights of drinking and running the town, where she was waiting on you. She didn't ask any questions and didn't care, as long as you put your lips to hers. This moment would have never happened in my life if grandmother didn't have other things on her mind. As Lily told grandmother of the things we learned, she mistaking sit down a coffee cup in front of me, as she was trying to keep up with my constant yapping. This started my affair with the Dark Helper, the keeper of midnight sonatas. I performed best on the midnight cup, as it was called, of coffee. It had to be dark and sweet, dark as the night and sweet as lily. In my later years, I found it wise to stick to a dark and bitter cup. One could say after that summer, my coffee turned bitter, dark, and bitter. To me it gave me magical learning powers, it gave me the drive to learn. I thought once they should give kids a few cups right before school. They would learn better, but then I saw the school system for what it was, the monsters that pulled the strings of the puppets they placed in the seats. They didn't want them kids asking questions, they didn't want the kids to have the magical powers of the question. A buddy I grew up with once asked me, "Do you know why they ban books?" He was talking about Catcher in the Rye, for the ones that are wondering. Because it makes people think, and one day, my friend, they will ban your books and stories. He was right, they did, but that's another story for another time. One day, you will find yourself in a school basement, staring eye to eye with a creature with large peepers and smoke for breath. When you find the courage to ask this creature who and what he is, it will simply respond truth and mayhem. The next time you take a sip of hot coffee, remember, we the worthy ones can only hold the cup. Days after the carnival, we found ourselves back at the keep. The fairgrounds were full of trash, cans were overfilled with popcorn buckets and soda cups. The ground was covered with old tickets smudged with mud, the fingerprints of the forgotten. Half-eaten rolls of cotton candy, rolled around like tumbleweeds in the Old West. I am sure in some desolated corner in a forgotten dark world, a gunslinger has battled with creatures of evil we haven't yet encountered. They battle in dilapidated amusement parks, where rusty roller coasters take the last of pure souls on one last ride. The test of time and circumstances may take us all to this place, in the near future, if darkness gets its way or if some decide it's best to push the red button. I wonder what the last words would be, God forgive me or let it all burn. From outside the box, humans are funny creatures, we fight over things. Why do we fight over things? Because we want more things. War is simple, it's about things. I guess Lily still was hopeful that she would spot another clue about her mother, but clues are not always things left behind, sometimes they find you. While I wanted to help Lily, I wondered why the jazzman had lied to us about why he was there. When I spoke to the grandmother about it, she quickly and quietly changed the subject, but she did say something that sounded a little strange. When people have unfinished business, sometimes they come back. This stung a little. With no explanation, I felt more confused than I was to start with. I had a whole new set of questions. Was he dead, a ghost, zombie like in the comic books? I started to overthink it. Jazzman was from New Orleans, zombies come from down in there, the jazzman was a zombie. I was wrong. Don't believe everything you read in the comics, unless it's written in red at the bottom of the page and from Jack. The boys were here for other reasons. They had heard rumors about people dropping money and them people that cleaned up the fairgrounds would find it. Sometimes a lucky kid would stumble across it. No one could claim it, as they said, if it's on the fairgrounds, it's finders keepers. This rumor came from someone that was part of the cleanup for the state fair. They told them to look really good, turn over every stone, paper cup, or bucket. Armed with sticks, this is what the boys set out to do. Once we got in and started to walk around, one of the guys that were supposed to take care of the town showed up and told us we couldn't be there. Frank was a local, a somewhat mental handicapped drunk, that would help with the upkeep of the town. Frank pointed at some orange bags lined up, and said, "You see them bags over there? The state police told us to bag up everything. There may have been a crime committed here. Apparently a few people went missing. The carnival was supposed to be here for another 3 days, and they just up and left. 1 minute, they were here and the next poof went without a trace. The police wanted me to bag up everything and drop it off at the office. I am glad I am not the guy that has to go through all of this mess. I am speaking from experience. You kids better to get on out of here, before the lot of us gets into some big trouble. Daddy used to say, the police have some wet dark places to stick you, if you get in their way." We turned and started walking toward the gates of the keep. I could still hear the music from the carnival playing in my head, with the undertones of screams and flashing visions of tied-up people being held captive by a little man, tucked away in some semi-truck on some American highway. This is how a midget becomes a slave owner, I thought. What type of monster did we really meet? Did he take the jazz man as well? I turned back to Frank. What was supposed to be their next stop? "Son, I don't know, that's the funny thing. As I said, they were here 1 minute and gone the next. The police checked all of the roads in and out of Red River, called the police in the other states. But there is no sign of them. You would think something as large as this one was, you could find them trucking down the road. I keep asking myself, did they even leave Red River? And if so, where could they hide?" On our way back home, a peculiar-looking girl, as pale as writing paper, was wandering around mindlessly. She couldn't have been more than 18. Lily walked up to the girl, tapped her on the shoulder. The girl had a look of shock in her eye and then said, "Are you real?" The boys laughed a little until Lily hit them on the back of the head. "What's your name?" Lily asked in hopes it would snap the girl out of whatever world she was in. "I'm looking for the bus stop. My name is Kelly Price and I'm nobody's pet." Mason reached his hand out, in an offer to help, but she knocked his hand back. Mason said the bus didn't come till tomorrow, and that she could come back with us to talk to grandmother. Maybe she could help get her where she needed to go and she could get something to eat while she was there. I agreed, thinking to myself, the poor girl did look lost and hungry. I knew she had a story to tell. As we walked back to grandmother's, the girl would start to tell us a rather unbelievable story. She told us that she escaped the clutches of the little man, the owner of the carnival. He had made her his pet and would keep her chained in his trailer. She was made to stay on her knees and made to walk on all fours when he took her for walks. She said this was common, as most of the workers there had human pets. When asked how long had she been there, she said 3 long years. She had gained his trust. He started to give her more and more chain. It had become easier for her to move around the trailer. The little man used to pet my red hair as if I was his dog or cat. I found a box of razors and tied them in my hair. I didn't know if this would work, but it did. The little man sliced his hand open, running out of the trailer. He left the keys to my chains behind. I quickly grabbed them, unlocked my collar and ran to freedom. He didn't even see my leave. "But I bet he and the others are looking for me," she said with tears in her eyes. Lily grabbed her shoulder. "Don't worry too much about it, the lady we call grandmother will know what to do." Not much more was said on the way home. I am sure Lily was worried about the fate of her mother. Maybe she was Kelly's replacement.